This is not about a specific type of phone. This is about phones in general. And for those of you who do not know, my relative was recently given a Jitterbug phone for their birthday. And the Jitterbug is a phone designed specifically for the older generation, specifically people who were born, say, around the 1920s and 30s. People who, for whatever reason, would be afraid of modern technology or be nervous about it, and would prefer something extremely simple. And I don't think they are the only ones. I think that there's a growing trend because the new Jitterbug, the J, is being marketed towards everyone, which makes me think that there's a growing trend towards simpler devices. Now, why do I say that? Well, let's look at what phones have become. Now, texting and calling I consider communications, so those are definitely necessary, I think. But let's look beyond that. Email, MP3s, web browsing. Truthfully, the only reason these smartphones were originally designed was primarily for business executives, and I do think that they are still the majority of purchasers of smartphones. The reason is because they need to keep on email all the time. But I think that for the average consumer, phones have become too complex. And I think that we need to step back and go back to the days of, maybe something not near as simple as the Jitterbug, because I will admit that I do use the calendar on my phone. But really, that's it. All I do is voice, texting, calendar to keep track of my appointments and my assignments. That's it. You give me something like that, I don't need the camera, I don't need the VCast features. Most of the time they just end up sitting there. I will say this, I have decided on a phone really quick, just off topic real quick. I have decided on a phone, provided that when I see it in person it looks like something I'd like to have. Go to VerizonWireless.com, go to cell phones, click on Casio. The very first item you will see is the Gs1 Rock. Excuse me. And that's what I've decided. It's not too complex. It has some interesting features. Some of them I might find useful. Some I might not. But that's a flip phone. It's gone back to the days of non-touch screen. The buttons are nice and big, easy to find. And I know that, phones have become handheld computers that make phone calls. Note the quotes. But I ask you, do we really need something like that? I can understand if you're on the move all the time and you're a business executive, you absolutely have to have something like that. Like I said earlier, that's why smartphones were originally developed, was for the business community. They were never intended for consumers originally. Yet thanks to Apple's iPhone, everybody wants a smartphone now. But let's step back and look at this. Do you really need those features? The Voyager. When I first got this phone, I was expecting to use the camera. I was expecting to download ringtones and so on and so forth. So how have I done in the past 2 years? In the past 2 years, I've only downloaded 3 ringtones. 3 ringtones in 2 years. I have only used the camera up until Christmas of last year when I got my Power Shot. Now that I have my Power Shot, I don't use the camera on my phone anymore because I don't have to. Now, if you take a look at the Gs1 Rock, you may think, well, wait a moment, that phone has a camera on it. Wouldn't you want something without a camera? I guess I'm not as picky about not having a camera, but the one thing that drew me to the Gs1 Rock is the fact that it has a flashlight built in. And sometimes when I'm navigating around in the dark at night downstairs, if I have to go get something like some last-minute paperwork, something like that would come in handy. But I think that, I don't know about you, but I do think that phones have become too complex. I think we need to step back and maybe go back to the days of the basic phone And I know that there are a number of basic phones that are out there. But at the same time, it seems to me like all the ones that are getting the hype are the ones with all the features that, in the end, if you think about it, would you really use them? I myself am in a Wi-Fi hotspot 90% of the time. Absolute requirement on smartphones is that you must have a $30 a month data plan, even if you don't intend to use that network. And I asked if you could get, I'm still curious, but I don't think you can get out of it. As far as I understand it, you're stuck. Which means $30 a month additional on top of what you're already paying down the drain. And I don't know, I guess the question is why? Not only that, phones get updated every 2 years. And I think this is taking a bit of a quality hit, because as I understand it, the iPhone, the newer one, is not as durable as the original because of its high quality. It's a plastic back versus a metal back. Now I know why Apple went that route, is to get more radios in there. But at the same time, again, a phone was originally meant to make calls. Then we have text messaging. Now text messaging I can understand because if you don't want to rack up their minutes with voicemail, that's the next best thing. And if you have unlimited texting, it's just easier to communicate, because if you have unlimited texting, you don't have to worry about using up any minutes. But beyond the texting, what else do we really need in a phone? Do we really need a camera? Now, I can understand one use of the camera, which is if you end up in a traffic accident and you need proof for the insurance company. There you go. You got a camera on your phone and you could use that. But MP3s, I've got my iPod. Web browsing, I've got my Mac, and I've got my iPod. The VCast service is rather expensive anyway. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is, why? I think in some instances phones have become too complex, and I think we need to step back and go back to the days of appreciating the simpler things in life. Anyway, that's what I think about it. Thank you for watching. Comments are welcome. Insults against me will get you blocked, and have a nice day.